I used to think heartbreak happened slowly, like small cracks spreading across glass. But mine arrived in a single moment, inside the apartment we had just moved into together. It started with a phone he did not want me to touch, and a truth I was never supposed to see. The truth was not only about betrayal, but about how long it had been happening. That morning changed everything I believed about love, loyalty, and myself. I was 18 when people around me started saying I had changed. I did not notice it much, but others did. My hair looked better, my confidence grew, and for the first time, people paid attention to me. But none of that mattered to me because I already had someone. His name was Liam, and he felt like home even before we fully understood what love was supposed to be. Our early relationship was simple. We laughed a lot, we stayed up talking about life, and we imagined a future we thought was guaranteed. For a long time, things felt easy between us. Then there was a party. I did not plan to stay long. It was one of those busy nights where everyone seemed louder than usual and the music made the walls shake. I met someone there. He was friendly, confident, and he made me feel noticed in a way I was not used to. We talked for a while. Nothing happened, but we exchanged social media accounts before I left. That was the start of a problem I did not understand at the time. The messages between us began as simple conversations. Later, they became more playful than they should have been. I knew I had crossed a line even if nothing physical happened. I planned to tell Liam the truth. But I waited too long. One day, he found the messages himself. I still remember the look on his face. It was a kind of disappointment that felt heavy and silent. He did not yell, he did not argue, he just walked away. We broke up. And instead of healing, I made another mistake. I kept talking to the guy from the party. 2 months later, we ended up together. It did not make me feel happy or proud. It made me feel like I had lost something important. That moment stayed with me for years. I missed Liam. I missed the friendship we had. I missed the calm feeling he brought into my life. So I tried to fix things. I wrote letters. I apologized in every way I knew how. I told him I would never cross that line again. Eventually, he forgave me. We got back together, believing we were stronger now, believing we were older, wiser, and ready to move forward. But the truth is, we were not healed. We were just holding on. 2 years passed after our first breakup and reconciliation. We were older, but not as mature as we believed. During one of our breaks, I spent time with someone else. It was not planned. It happened during a period when Liam and I were not communicating well, and I felt lost. When Liam and I got back together again, I asked him if he had been with anyone. He told me he had been with a girl during our time apart. His voice sounded calm, almost emotionless, like it was not a big deal. But something about the way he said it made my chest feel tight. Then he asked me the same question. I panicked. I was afraid that if I told him the truth, he would walk away again. So I said no. It was the wrong choice, and I knew it the moment the word left my mouth. But at that time, I just wanted to keep him close. I wanted us to feel normal again. I wanted to hold on to what we had rebuilt. For a while, things seemed okay. We settled back into our old routines. We went out together, laughed together, and tried to pretend everything was simple. But the past does not stay hidden forever. One evening, Liam went through my phone again. He found messages from the time we were broken up. Even though they were old, even though we were not together when it happened, it still turned into a storm. The argument was heavy and filled with painful silence. Old wounds opened again. New doubts formed. But once again,
somehow, we found our way back to each other. We apologized. We talked for hours. We promised to be better, to be honest, to communicate. Looking back now, I realize we were repeating the same cycle without learning anything from it. We kept breaking apart and forcing ourselves back together, believing that staying meant we were strong. In reality, we were both tired, confused, and holding on to a version of love that was no longer healthy. At the time, though, I told myself that every couple goes through things, that childhood relationships often have ups and downs, that we just needed time. But deep down, I think we both knew we were building a future on top of old cracks, and eventually those cracks would show again.
3 more years passed, and somehow, Liam and I were still together. We were 23 now, and it felt like we had survived so much already. We believed our past had made us stronger. Maybe we were just holding on to the idea of who we were when we first fell in love. Those 3 years were calmer than the ones before. We took trips together, celebrated milestones, and talked about our future in ways that felt real. We were finally old enough to plan things without feeling overwhelmed. We even found a new place to live. It felt like a fresh start, a clean chapter, separate from our old mistakes. We painted the walls together, argued over decorations, laughed at how different our tastes were, and slowly built a space that felt like ours. Before moving in, I had traveled out of the country for a short time. I missed him more than I expected. I kept imagining coming home to him, to the new apartment, to the life we were finally creating the right way. When I returned, everything felt warm and familiar. We unpacked boxes, ordered takeout, argued about where to put the couch, and fell asleep on the floor like kids who had stayed up too late. That first night in the new place felt perfect. It felt like all our pain and past mistakes had finally led us to something peaceful. I genuinely believed we had turned a corner. I believed we had grown. But the next morning, everything shifted. I woke up with a sore throat, and it felt uncomfortable in a way I recognized immediately. It only happened when I ate a specific food that I could not tolerate well. I knew I had not eaten it, but my body reacted as if I had. The thought was small at first, just a whisper, a tiny question I tried to ignore. Could something be wrong? Had he been with someone else? I pushed it out of my mind. I did not want to assume the worst. I did not want old fears to ruin something new. But when something feels off, it usually is. That night, when I asked to use his phone because mine was out of battery, he acted different. Normally, he would hand it to me without hesitation. But this time, he picked it up quickly and said he would do it for me. It was such a small moment, but it felt heavy, like a door quietly closing somewhere inside my chest. At the time, I tried to ignore it. I wanted to believe we were okay. I wanted to believe our new beginning was real. But that one moment was the first sign that the peace I thought we had built was not as solid as I believed.
Ethan spent the next few days pretending everything was normal. He went to work, he talked to people, he even laughed at jokes he didn't hear. But inside him, something was shifting. It felt like a quiet storm collecting strength behind his ribs. At night, he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lily's smile. Every time he opened them, he wondered if that smile belonged to him or someone else. He kept remembering small moments. A message she hid when he walked in, a strange tension in her voice, a sudden change in her routines. He tried to ignore these thoughts, but they kept coming back like echoes in an empty room. He kept telling himself he was overthinking. He kept telling himself Lily loved him. But doubt was like a drop of ink in water. Once it spills, the whole glass changes. One evening, Ethan came home early. He didn't warn Lily. He just wanted to surprise her. Maybe cook dinner together. Maybe talk. Maybe feel normal again. But when he opened the door, Lily wasn't in the living room. She wasn't in the kitchen. The whole house felt strangely quiet. He walked toward the bedroom and heard a soft whisper. A voice. Lily's voice. But she wasn't talking like she talked to him. Her tone was softer, nervous, a little too warm. She said something like, "I miss you too. I know. I just need time." He froze. His heartbeat slowed in a way that felt unnatural. He didn't push the door open. He didn't make a sound. He just stood there, not breathing, listening to a conversation he wasn't supposed to hear. Then Lily suddenly said, "I have to go. Ethan might come home." He stepped back quickly, pretending he'd just walked in. When Lily came out of the room, she looked startled for a moment, then forced a smile. She said she was just talking to a friend. She said Ethan should have texted before coming early. She said she was tired. But Ethan wasn't listening to her words anymore. He was watching her eyes, her hands, the way her voice trembled, the way she wouldn't look at him for more than a second. He didn't confront her. He didn't ask anything. He didn't want to hear a lie he wasn't ready for. That night, Lily fell asleep quickly. Ethan didn't. He lay next to her, staring at the ceiling, feeling a weight growing inside him. A quiet fear, a quiet anger, a quiet truth trying to surface. Around 3 a.m, Ethan finally got up. He went to the living room and sat in the dark. His chest felt tight. His head felt heavy. He tried to convince himself that he trusted Lily, but something deep inside him was whispering that trust without answers is nothing but blind hope. He looked at the closed bedroom door. Behind it was the woman he loved more than anything. But for the first time in his life, he wasn't sure if she still belonged to him. And that doubt was the beginning of everything that came next.
The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling unusually calm. Not peaceful, but empty. The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. Lily was already awake. She moved around the kitchen, making breakfast like nothing had happened. She smiled at him, acted normal, talked about small things. But something in her eyes was different. It was distant, guarded. Ethan watched her quietly. He didn't accuse her. He didn't question her. He just observed every detail the way a detective observes a room before solving a case. When she left for work, Ethan didn't follow his normal routine. Instead, he sat on the couch and stared at her empty coffee mug. It still had lipstick on the rim, a color she rarely wore before, a color she started using recently, a color he never saw her wear around him. Little signs, small things, but they added up. He finally stood up and walked to the bedroom. He wasn't planning to invade her privacy. He wasn't even sure what he wanted to find. Maybe reassurance, maybe answers, maybe something he wouldn't be able to unsee. He opened her closet slowly. Everything looked normal. Then he noticed a bag at the back, a small purse she never used. Inside it was a receipt, a restaurant receipt from last week, a restaurant Ethan had never been to, and the bill was for 2 people. Ethan stared at it for a long time. His hands didn't shake, his breathing didn't change, but something inside him cracked, quietly, like a branch breaking in a deep forest. He folded the receipt and kept it in his pocket. Later that day, he decided to clear his mind. He went for a walk around the neighborhood, but while walking past a small store, something made him stop. A sudden push from instinct, from that quiet voice inside him that had been whispering for days. In the window, he saw something familiar. A bracelet. A fragile silver bracelet with a tiny heart-shaped charm. The exact same bracelet he saw on Lily's wrist 2 nights ago, when she said it was just something she bought online.
but the store owner said it was purchased from here 3 days ago, paid in cash. Ethan didn't say much. He nodded, thanked the man, and walked out. He walked slowly, each step heavier than the last. The air felt thick. The world felt dimmer. Everything he believed about his life was slowly slipping from his hands. He didn't confront Lily that evening. He didn't show the receipt. He didn't mention the bracelet. Instead, he watched her. He watched the way she avoided long conversations, the way she kept her phone close, the way she smiled too quickly when she didn't mean it. Ethan didn't want to break, not yet, not without knowing the full truth. And somewhere deep inside him, a new version of Ethan was starting to wake up. A quieter one, colder, stronger. This was the version that would not be ignored, the version that would not accept lies, the version that would eventually lead him toward revenge.
For the next few days, I tried to act normal. I woke up beside him, I cooked breakfast, I asked him about work, I laughed at his jokes. But inside, my mind was sharp, focused, watching everything, every movement, every pause, every change in tone. Patterns don't lie. People do. And Ethan's patterns were shifting in ways he didn't notice. He kept his phone face down. He took longer showers. He walked outside to take calls. He smiled at messages a little too fast. All tiny details. All silent warnings. One night, he fell asleep early. Too early for him. He'd always been a night owl, but lately he'd been crashing the moment his head touched the pillow. I lay beside him, staring at the ceiling, feeling that familiar pressure in my chest. Not panic, just a slow, painful clarity. Around midnight, his phone vibrated on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. Notifications he never told me about, messages he claimed he didn't get. I turned my head slowly. The room was dark, but the faint glow from his screen revealed a name. A woman's name. Short, cute, with a little heart emoji next to it. My stomach twisted, but my hands stayed steady, because I already knew. This wasn't shock. This wasn't fear. It was confirmation. I reached for the phone, not to open it, not to scroll, not to break any boundaries, just to see the lock screen. The message preview read, "I miss you. Same time tomorrow?" My heart didn't drop. It didn't break. It froze. Quiet, still, cold. I placed the phone back exactly where it was and stared at him. He looked peaceful, rested, comfortable, as if he wasn't tearing our life apart behind closed doors. I wasn't ready to confront him. Not yet. Confrontation ends the game. But observation, that brings answers. The next morning, I pretended nothing happened. I kissed him on the cheek, made him coffee, acted like the same girl he thought would never leave. But my mind was completely elsewhere. I started tracking his habits. When he left, when he returned, who he mentioned, who he didn't mention at all. I didn't stalk. I didn't snoop. I simply watched. And the more I watched, the more the truth came together like puzzle pieces. His excuses grew weaker. His mood swings grew sharper. His patience thinned whenever I asked simple things. And then came the final clue. A scent. One evening, he walked through the door wearing a fragrance I didn't recognize. Not cologne, not deodorant. Perfume. A soft floral one. Something expensive, delicate, and definitely not mine. He hugged me, and the scent lingered on his hoodie. That was the moment the last bit of doubt disappeared. He wasn't slipping away. He was already gone. Not physically, but emotionally, and quietly, and deliberately. And he thought I didn't know, but I did. I knew everything now, and soon he would learn that I wasn't the girl he could lie to anymore. Because I had stopped playing nice. I honestly hoped the signs were wrong. I hoped I was overthinking, connecting dots that didn't belong together. I hoped he'd walk through the door one evening, look me in the eyes, and everything would finally make sense. But the truth doesn't hide forever. And on a cold Thursday night, it revealed itself. It started when he got a text while we were watching a movie. His phone lit up, he flinched. The reaction was too fast, too defensive. He grabbed the phone and turned away as he typed. His shoulders stiffened and his breathing shifted just slightly. When he returned, he forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm heading out," he said casually. "Mark needs help with something." Mark. Always Mark. The perfect excuse. I nodded slowly. "Is everything okay?" Yeah, just something quick." He grabbed his jacket and keys faster than usual, almost like he needed to escape before I asked anything else. When the door closed behind him, the apartment fell silent. Except for my heartbeat. Steady, but heavy. I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the door. I had two choices. Stay home and pretend I didn't know, or find out the truth once and for all. I chose truth. I changed quickly, wore a simple hoodie, tied my hair back, slipped into my quietest shoes, and waited. I counted to 30, slowly, steadily. Then I stepped into the hallway and followed. I didn't call a friend, didn't talk to anyone, didn't rush. I moved with a calm I didn't know I had, a calm that only comes when your heart has already been broken, and now you're just searching for the proof. I walked far enough behind him that he wouldn't notice, but close enough to see the path he took. He didn't turn toward Mark's place, not even close. He walked down the opposite street, toward the busier side of town, toward the places people go when they don't want to be seen. He kept checking over his shoulder, not enough to look suspicious, but enough to tell me he wasn't meeting a friend. He was meeting someone he needed to hide. When he reached a corner, a car pulled up, a silver sedan. Clean, quiet, familiar. The passenger window rolled down, and a woman smiled at him. My breath caught, but I didn't freeze, I didn't cry, I didn't gasp. I simply watched. He smiled back, a real smile. The kind I hadn't seen in a long time. The kind he used to give me. My chest tightened, but I held myself together. He opened the passenger door and got inside. Just like that. No hesitation, no guilt, no second thoughts. The car drove off, leaving me standing on the corner under a flickering streetlight. I didn't chase it. I didn't scream. I didn't call him. Instead, I took a slow breath, and another, until I felt myself return to my body. This wasn't the moment I broke. It was the moment I woke up. The moment I realized the truth wasn't something to fear, it was something to accept. And acceptance is what gives strength. I didn't follow the car. I followed the realization that my life was about to change, that I was done waiting for him to value me, that I was done letting him tell me who I was, that the girl who forgave too easily was gone, and the woman who knew her worth was finally rising. This was the night I stopped being afraid of losing him, because I understood. I had already lost him a long time ago. And now it was his turn to lose me.
The walk back to our apartment felt longer than the walk there. Every step echoed on the cold pavement. I felt strangely calm. It was the kind of calm that comes after a fever breaks. The confusion was gone. The hope was gone. And all that was left was a cold, hard reality. I walked into our home and did not turn on the lights. I sat on the sofa in the darkness. I did not cry. I did not pack my bags yet. I just waited. I wanted to see his face one last time when he thought he was safe. 2 hours later, the key turned in the lock. The door opened. He walked in, humming a low tune, looking relaxed. He turned on the hallway light and flinched when he saw me sitting there in the shadows. "Jesus," he breathed out, putting a hand over his chest. "Why are you sitting in the dark? You scared me." I did not answer immediately. I just looked at him. I looked at the man I had loved for years. I looked at the man who had just come from someone else's arms. How was Mark? I asked. My voice was steady, too steady. He blinked, clearly surprised by my tone, but he recovered quickly. "Oh, he's good," he said, taking off his jacket. "We just grabbed some food, talked about work. You know how he is." The lie rolled off his tongue so easily. It was smooth, rehearsed, perfect. If I hadn't been standing on that street corner 2 hours ago, I would have believed him. "That sounds nice," I said softly. I stood up slowly. My legs felt heavy, but my spine felt steel strong. He smiled at me, but it was a tired smile. "I'm exhausted," he said, moving toward the bedroom. "I think I'm gonna crash." "Ethan," I said. He stopped. He didn't turn around immediately. Maybe he sensed the change in the air. Maybe he felt the weight of the name I just spoke. He turned slowly. "Yeah?" I walked closer to him. I stopped just a few feet away. I could smell the faint scent of rain on his clothes, and underneath that, the faint, sweet scent of her perfume. "Mark drives a silver sedan now?" I asked. The room went deadly silent. The color drained from his face instantly. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. He froze. He didn't ask what I meant. He didn't ask how I knew. Because he knew. In that 1 second, the mask fell off. The confidence disappeared. And for the first time in months, I was the one holding all the power. "I saw you," I whispered. I didn't need to shout. The truth was loud enough on its own. "I saw you get in the car, I saw her smile, and I saw you smile back." He took a step toward me, reaching out his hand. "Listen, let me explain." I took a step back. "No," I said. "You don't get to explain anymore." I looked him in the eyes, and I saw fear. But it was too late for fear. It was too late for him. Tonight wasn't a mistake, Ethan. Tonight was your choice. And now, I am going to make mine. I turned around and walked into the bedroom. I pulled my suitcase out from the closet. He stood in the hallway, paralyzed by the sudden collapse of his double life. The storm had finally arrived. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one who drowned.
Packing my things did not take long. It is strange how a whole life with someone can fit into 2 suitcases. I moved around the bedroom quickly. I did not look at the photos on the wall. I did not look at the bed we shared. I focused only on my clothes, my books, and the few things that were truly mine. Ethan stood in the doorway the whole time. He was crying. It was the first time I had seen him cry in years. "Please," he said, his voice cracking, "don't do this. We can talk. We can go to therapy. I will cut her off, I promise." I zipped up my suitcase. The sound was sharp and final in the quiet room. I stood up and faced him. I felt sad, but not for us. I felt sad for the girl I used to be, the one who would have stayed. "You are only sorry because you got caught," I said calmly. "No, that's not true," he pleaded. "I love you." I shook my head slowly. "You don't hurt the people you love, Ethan. You don't lie to them for months. You don't make them feel crazy for trusting their instincts." I walked past him. He reached out a hand to stop me, but then he pulled it back. He knew he had lost the right to touch me. I walked to the small table by the front door. I took my house key off the ring. I placed it on the table. The metal made a small clink sound against the wood. It sounded like the end of a long, difficult sentence. "Goodbye, Ethan," I said. I opened the door and walked out into the cool night air. I did not look back. I did not slam the door. I just closed it gently behind me. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe. 6 months have passed since that night. It was not easy at first. There were nights when I felt lonely. There were mornings when I missed the comfort of having someone around. But I never missed him. I missed the idea of us, but I did not miss the lies. I spent time rebuilding my life. I reconnected with old friends. I focused on my work. I started doing things I enjoyed, things I had stopped doing because I was too busy worrying about him. One afternoon, I ran into Mark at a coffee shop. He looked nervous when he saw me.
He told me Ethan was miserable. He told me Ethan asked about me all the time. He told me Ethan wanted to know if there was a chance. I smiled, and it was a genuine smile. Tell him I hope he learns from this, but tell him I am never coming back. Walking away from that coffee shop, I realized something important. Heartbreak feels like the end of the world when you are in it. It feels like you will never be happy again. But that is not true. Heartbreak is just a clearing of space. It removes the wrong people to make room for the right ones. And more importantly, it makes room for yourself. I looked up at the sky. It was blue and clear. I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I was free. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.